I knew 30 days before the world ended. 30 days before Sarah grabbed my arm at breakfast and asked why I was loading another pallet of canned goods into the truck. 30 days before the neighbors stopped waving and started whispering. 30 days before everything I'd been called crazy for actually mattered. The memo came through on a Tuesday. Not even a memo, really. Just an email chain I wasn't supposed to see. Dr. Werner from the virology division forwarding something to someone in regulatory, and I was CC'd by mistake. The subject line read, Iteration 7, Behavioral Protocols. And there was an attachment, a video file. I almost deleted it. Almost. I watched it in my car during lunch. The footage was from one of the observation rooms in Sub-Level 3, the area we weren't allowed near without biohazard clearance. And the timestamp said it was recorded 6 days prior. A rhesus monkey sat in the center of a white chamber, electrodes connected to its skull. Normal enough. We did neural mapping all the time at Corvus Biomedical. What wasn't normal was what happened at the 40-second mark. The monkey's head snapped up. Not gradually. Not like an animal noticing something. It snapped. Then it lunged at the plexiglass barrier so hard, I heard the thud through the speaker. Its eyes didn't look right. The pupils were blown wide, completely black, and there was this white film starting to form around the edges. It didn't make monkey sounds. It made this clicking noise, wet and rhythmic, like someone trying to start a flooded engine with their throat. Then it bit its own arm, just started tearing chunks out of itself, not flinching, not stopping, and blood everywhere. The camera angle shifted, and I could see the observation window. Dr. Werner was there with 2 others I didn't recognize, all 3 writing on tablets like they were watching a spreadsheet update instead of an animal destroying itself. The video cut off. The email thread below had been deleted, but I could see the shadow of it in the formatting. Something about cranial override, aggression spike, inhibition collapse. And then one line that made my hands go cold on the steering wheel. If we can refine the transmission vector, we could have military applications ready for human trials within 18 months. I sat there for 20 minutes. Cars pulled in and out of the parking lot. Someone knocked on my window asking if I was okay. I nodded. I wasn't okay. That night, I didn't tell Sarah. Not directly. I just said we needed to talk about the cabin. The one we'd bought 3 years ago after my dad died and left us enough money to be stupid with. It was up in the Cascade foothills, 40 minutes outside the city if you knew the back roads, longer if you didn't. We'd been up there maybe 5 times. Sarah wanted to sell it, said it was a waste of money keeping a place we never used. I told her I wanted to fix it up, make it livable year-round. She looked at me like I'd suggested we join a commune. Jake, we talked about this. We agreed. I know what we agreed. I just think we should hold on to it. As an investment. An investment in what? There's no cell service up there. The road washes out every winter. It's basically a hunting shack with delusions of grandeur. She wasn't wrong. The place was rough. 1 bedroom, a loft space that smelled like mouse droppings, a kitchenette with a propane stove that only worked if you hit it in the right spot. But it had a well. It had a wood stove. It had 16 acres of forest around it, and the nearest neighbor was 3 miles down a logging road that didn't show up on Google Maps. I started working on it that weekend. Told Sarah I needed a project, something to do with my hands. She thought it was a midlife crisis thing. I was 34. Maybe it was. I reinforced the crawl space first. The cabin sat on concrete pylons, about 4 feet off the ground. I added steel mesh around the base, overlapping sheets secured with industrial bolts. Sarah asked why. I told her it was to keep out raccoons. She said that seemed excessive. I agreed and kept working. Next came the shutters. Heavy gauge steel, and the kind they use on storefronts in bad neighborhoods. I mounted them on the inside of every window so they'd look like normal shutters from outside, but could drop down and lock in seconds. Sarah came up one Saturday and saw them. She stood in the doorway, not saying anything for a long time. "Jake, what's going on?" "Nothing, just making the place secure." "Secure from what?" I didn't have an answer she'd believe, so I told her about a break-in at a cabin 2 ridges over. Made up the whole thing. She bought it, or pretended to. I think she was starting to worry about me. I was starting to worry about me too. The water system took a week. I installed a hand pump as backup to the electric one, ran new PVC from the well to the cabin, added 3 200-gallon storage tanks in the crawl space, and I built a rainwater collection system off the roof. I dug a latrine pit 30 yards into the woods and covered it with a plywood box I could seal. Sarah didn't come up that weekend. She said she had a thing with her sister. I think she just didn't want to watch me lose my mind. But I wasn't losing my mind. I was watching the news. A researcher at Corvus got fired. Dr. Ellison, someone I'd never spoken to but saw sometimes in the cafeteria. The official reason was protocol violations. But there were rumors she'd tried to go to the FDA about something. A week later, she was in a car accident. Single vehicle collision on I-5, no witnesses. The news said she'd been drinking. Dr. Ellison didn't drink. I knew because I'd heard her at a company dinner once, talking about how her dad died of cirrhosis and she hadn't touched alcohol since she was 19. I bought guns. Not all at once. That would have been stupid. Over 3 weeks, I picked up a Remington 870 from a sporting goods store, a Ruger 1022 from a pawn shop, and a Glock 19 from a guy I met through a friend who didn't ask questions. I bought ammunition in bulk from different places, paid cash, used my middle name on the forms where I could. Sarah found the receipts. We had our first real fight about it. "You bought 3,000 rounds of ammunition?" It was on sale. "Jake, what the fuck is happening? You're acting insane." "I'm being prepared." "For what? Red Dawn? The apocalypse?" I almost told her, almost explained about the memo and the monkey and doctor, on Ellison and the way people at work had started looking at me sideways when I asked too many questions about what happened in sub-level 3. Instead, I just held her and told her I was going through something, but I'd be okay. She cried. I'd made my wife cry, and I still couldn't stop. The supplies came next. Canned food, rice, beans, flour, salt, sugar, coffee, powdered milk, vitamin supplements. I bought a chest freezer and a generator to run it. Solar panels for the roof, a shortwave radio, medical supplies, antibiotics, painkillers, bandages, surgical thread, anything I could get without a prescription. I maxed out 2 credit cards. Sarah noticed. We fought again. I told her I was investing in earthquake preparedness. We lived in the Pacific Northwest. It wasn't crazy. Except it was. I knew it was. But I also knew what I'd seen in that video. The way the monkey moved. The way it didn't feel pain. And I knew that Corvus Biomedical had a contract with the Department of Defense worth $40 million for neurological research applications. I knew they'd moved all their Level 4 containment work to a new facility outside the city 6 months ago. I knew the CDC had visited twice in the last year, and both times everyone in the building had to sign expanded NDAs. 23 days before it happened, I quit my job. Told them it was for personal reasons. My supervisor looked relieved. I think they were building a file on me, waiting for an excuse. I made it easy. Sarah didn't find out for 3 days. I kept leaving the house at the same time, coming back at the same time. I spent the days at the cabin, moving supplies, on setting up, preparing. When she found out, she didn't yell. She just looked tired. I can't do this anymore, Jake. I love you, but I can't watch you fall apart. I'm not falling apart. I'm trying to keep us safe. Safe from what? I told her. All of it. The memo, the video, the monkey, Dr. Ellison, the military contract. I showed her the screenshots I'd taken before my access got revoked. I showed her the news articles about unexplained deaths among Corvus employees. I laid it all out on our kitchen table and waited. She stared at it for a long time. Then she looked at me. You need help? Professional help. Sarah? No. Listen to me. You're having some kind of breakdown. Maybe it's stress, maybe it's something else, but this... She gestured at the papers. This is paranoid delusion. You worked for a biomedical company. They do animal testing. That's not a conspiracy. That's literally their job. It's not animal testing. It's weaponization. They're trying to develop treatments for neurological disorders, which is what you knew when you took the job. Jake, please just come with me to talk to someone. I didn't go. We didn't speak for 2 days. She stayed at her sister's place. I moved the rest of the supplies to the cabin. 14 days before it happened. Then the news started. Small stories at first. A disturbance at a hospital in Seattle. Patients in the ER becoming violent. Security footage showed someone biting a nurse. The news called it a mental health incident and moved on. But I saw the address. The hospital was 6 blocks from the new Corvus facility. 3 days later, another incident. This time at a homeless shelter downtown. 7 people attacked staff and other residents. Police used tasers. Didn't work. They had to use batons, physical restraint. The news showed blurry phone footage. I watched it frame by frame, the way the attackers moved, that same jerking, too fast motion, eyes wrong, making sounds that weren't quite human. I called Sarah, begged her to come with me to the cabin, just for a few days, just in case. In case of what, Jake? Please, I know how this sounds, but please just trust me. Silence. Then, I'll think about it. She showed up the next morning with a bag. Didn't say anything, just got in the truck. We drove to the cabin. She didn't ask questions. I think part of her believed me. Or maybe she was just scared enough of losing me that she'd play along. That we'd been there for 6 days when the radio went crazy. I had the shortwave on, scanning frequencies the way I did every morning. Usually, it was truckers, ham radio operators, weather reports. That morning, every station was talking about the same thing. Hospitals in Seattle, Portland, Spokane, all reporting the same thing. Violent outbreaks, patients biting staff, infections spreading impossibly fast. The CDC had issued a statement. Stay indoors. Avoid contact with anyone showing symptoms. Symptoms included aggression, confusion, sensitivity to light, excessive salivation. Sarah stood in the doorway listening. Her face had gone white. Jake, I know. Oh my God. You were right. I know. The power grid went down on day 3. We had the generator and the solar panels, so it didn't matter much, except we lost internet. The radio became everything. We listened to civilization collapse in real time. The military tried to establish quarantine zones, failed. The infection spread too fast. 1 bite and you had maybe 6 hours before the fever started. After that, 12 hours until you turned. Once you turned, you didn't turn back. They weren't zombies. Not like in the movies. They could move fast when they wanted to. They didn't shamble. They ran. They climbed. They figured out how to open doors if the doors were simple enough. Not smart, but not completely stupid either. Animal cunning, pack hunting. The radio called them infected. The military called them hostiles. I called them what they were. Test subjects that got out. Day 7. Sarah asked if I'd known it would be this bad. I didn't know anything for sure. I couldn't risk being wrong. She nodded, didn't say anything else. We sat on the porch watching the woods. It was getting dark. In the distance, we could hear them sometimes. That clicking sound, like locusts made of meat. Day 9, we saw our first one up close. It came up the logging road just after dawn. Used to be a man, maybe 50, wearing the remains of a business suit. The fabric was shredded, covered in dried blood that probably wasn't his. He moved wrong, joints bending in directions they shouldn't. Stopped about 100 yards from the cabin and tilted his head like he was listening. Sarah grabbed my arm. I already had the rifle. I'd been carrying it everywhere for 2 days. The thing stood there for 5 minutes, just listening. Then it turned and went back into the woods. Didn't make a sound except for that clicking. We didn't see where it went. Why didn't it come closer? Sarah whispered. I don't know. Maybe it didn't see us. Maybe it did and didn't care. What if it comes back? Then I'll shoot it. Have you ever shot anything before? I hadn't. All those guns and all that ammunition, and I'd never actually fired at a living thing. We spent that afternoon setting up targets in the clearing behind the cabin. I practiced until my shoulder hurt from the recoil. Sarah watched. She didn't want to learn. Said if it came to her needing to shoot something, we were already dead. Day 12, the radio went quiet. Not all at once. Station by station, emergency broadcasts just stopped. The last one we heard was from a woman in Bend, repeating coordinates for a refugee camp. She sounded exhausted. Said they had food and water and military protection, and said anyone who could make it should try. Then static. We didn't try for the camp. 40 miles through infected territory to get to a place that probably didn't exist anymore. No. Day 15, we heard screaming. Far off, maybe 2 ridges over. Went on for hours. Sarah put in earplugs and sat in the bedroom with a pillow over her head. I stood on the porch with the rifle and waited for whatever was making that sound to find us. It didn't. The screaming stopped around midnight. After that, silence. Not peaceful silence, heavy silence, like the world was holding its breath. Day 18. I realized we hadn't seen any animals. No deer, no squirrels, no birds. I mentioned it to Sarah. Maybe they ran away, she said, or maybe they got infected too. Can it do that? Infect animals? I don't know. The test footage was primates. But if it's a virus, we didn't talk about it anymore. The idea of infected bears or cougars was worse than infected humans somehow. Day 20, I went to check the snares I'd set up. Basic stuff, wire loops along game trails in case we needed meat. Found one triggered. Something had been caught and torn itself apart getting free. Blood everywhere. Tufts of fur. But no body. The wire was snapped. Whatever it was had been strong. I reset the snare with heavier gauge wire. Didn't catch anything. Day 23. We had our first real scare. I was outside chopping wood. Sarah was inside doing inventory on the medical supplies. I heard the clicking before I saw anything. Close. Real close. I grabbed the axe and backed toward the cabin. 3 of them came out of the trees. 2 women and something that might have been a teenager. Fast they moved in that stuttering way, heads twitching. The teenager was missing an arm. Didn't seem to notice. I got to the porch and they stopped. Just stood at the tree line, staring. I could see their eyes from there. Milky white film over the pupils. Veins in the sclera burst and black. One of the women opened her mouth and made that sound. Click, click, click. The other two responded. Click, click. Sarah appeared in the doorway behind me with a shotgun. She was shaking, but she had it pointed in the right direction. Jake, don't shoot unless they come closer. Why aren't they coming closer? Good question. They stood there for maybe 10 minutes. Then, like they'd received a signal I couldn't hear, they turned and walked back into the woods. Just left. I waited another hour before I went back to chopping wood. My hands shook so bad I almost took my foot off with the axe. That night, Sarah asked, "Do you think they're getting smarter?" No. Why? The way they just left, like they were deciding we weren't worth it. They're not deciding anything. They're infected. They're running on brainstem instinct. Then why didn't they attack? I didn't have an answer. We locked everything down tight and took turns on watch. Sarah took first shift. I tried to sleep but couldn't. Kept thinking about the way those things had looked at us. Not hungry, not aggressive, just looking. Day 25. Sarah found me in the crawl space doing maintenance on the water filtration system. She was holding the radio. "Jake, you need to hear this." I climbed out and took it. Someone was broadcasting on an emergency frequency. Male voice, calm and professional. He was reading a list, names and ID numbers. When he got to the end, he started over from the beginning. Same names, same numbers, like a recording stuck on loop. "What is that?" Sarah asked. I listened closer. Some of the names I recognized. Corvus employees, people from the virology division. "It's a roster," I said. "He's reading a roster." "Why?" "I don't know." The voice kept going. We listened for 2 hours. Never changed, never stopped. Then it cut off mid-sentence and didn't come back. Day 28. I was getting complacent. That's the only explanation. I'd gone down to the well to check the pump and I didn't bring a weapon. Stupid. So fucking stupid. I heard it before I saw it. That wet clicking. I turned and there it was. Maybe 15 feet away. Used to be a woman, young, wearing hiking gear. She had a chunk missing from her neck, white bone visible through the torn flesh. Her jaw hung wrong, dislocated or broken. We stared at each other. I looked at the cabin. Too far. I looked at the well house. Closer, but no lock on the door. I looked back at her. She tilted her head, clicked, then she charged. I ran. Not toward the cabin, toward the tree line. Drew her away from Sarah. I could hear her behind me, crashing through brush, making that sound. I grabbed a branch off the ground, green wood, thick as my wrist, spun around and swung as hard as I could. Caught her in the ribs. She didn't even flinch. Grabbed the branch and yanked it out of my hands, threw it aside, lunged. I went down hard, her on top of me, hands around my throat, insane strength. Her face inches from mine, mouth open. She got that clicking coming from somewhere in her chest. I got my forearm up under her chin and pushed. Her teeth snapped shut so close to my wrist I felt the air move. Gunshot. Her head jerked back and she fell sideways. I scrambled away, gasping. Sarah stood 20 feet away with the Glock, still aimed, shaking so hard the barrel wobbled. "Is it dead?" she whispered. I looked. The infected woman was on the ground, most of her face gone. But she was still moving, fingers scrabbling at the dirt, legs kicking. I picked up a rock and finished it. Took 4 hits before she stopped. Blood everywhere. On my hands, my clothes, my face. I could taste it. Sarah helped me back to the cabin. We stripped on the porch and she hosed me down with water from the rain barrel. Freezing cold. I stood there while she scrubbed my skin raw with a brush, checking every inch for bites or scratches. Nothing. Lucky. So fucking lucky. We burned my clothes, spent the rest of the day boiling water and scrubbing everything I'd touched. Sarah didn't speak, neither did I. What was there to say? Day 30, that's today. 1 month since the world ended. I'm writing this down because Sarah thinks we should keep a record. She found notebooks in the supply cache, said it might matter someday. I don't know if she really believes that or if she just needs something to do. The cabin is holding. We have food for 6 months if we're careful. Longer if we can get the garden started in spring. Water's good. Solar panels are working. Generator has fuel. We're alive. But I keep thinking about those infected that just walked away. About the voice on the radio reading names. About how quiet it's been the last 2 days. Too quiet. Sarah just asked me what I'm writing. I told her just notes about supplies and stuff. She nodded, but she knew I was lying. She's getting better at reading me, or I'm getting worse at hiding things. It's getting dark. My watch tonight. I can see the trees from the porch, black shapes against slightly less black sky. Somewhere out there they're moving, hunting, clicking. I should go. Sarah's calling me for dinner. We're having chicken and rice from a can. Anniversary dinner. 1 month of survival. She tried to make it special, even lit a candle. I love her for that, for trying. But I can't stop thinking about what happens when the supplies run out, or when winter comes and the solar panels get covered in snow, or when one of us gets sick or hurt and we need help that doesn't exist anymore. I prepared for this. 30 days of preparation, and we're still here. But I didn't prepare for what comes after. The endurance of it. The years, maybe, stretching out in this tiny bubble of safety while everything outside stays wrong. Sarah's calling again. I should go. Day 31. Something changed. I noticed it this morning when I went to check the perimeter. The markers I'd set up, pieces of cloth tied to branches at 50-yard intervals around the cabin. 3 of them were gone. Not torn down by wind. Gone. Like someone had untied them and taken them. I didn't tell Sarah right away. Spent the morning re-walking the whole perimeter, looking for tracks. Found some. Human. Bare feet. They circled the cabin at about 100 yards out. A complete loop, then headed east into deep woods. 1 set of tracks. Just 1. But the footprints were too evenly spaced, too deliberate. Not the stumbling gait I'd seen from the infected before. Sarah noticed I was tense at lunch. She's gotten good at reading my moods. Not much else to do but study each other. What's wrong? Nothing, just tired. Jake, I told her. She went pale. They're learning? I don't know. Maybe. What do we do? Keep watch. Stay ready. Same as always. But it wasn't the same. Before, the infected were a force of nature. Dangerous, but predictable. Like a wildfire or a flood. You could prepare, take precautions. This felt different. Intentional. I spent the afternoon reinforcing the steel mesh around the crawl space. Added extra bolts. Checked every shutter, every lock. The Glock stayed on my hip. Rifle within reach. Around 4 in the afternoon, I heard it. A voice. Human voice. Calling from the woods. Hello? Is anyone there? Please, I need help. Sarah heard it too. We looked at each other. She shook her head. It could be a survivor, she whispered. It could be a trap. Since when do they set traps? I didn't answer. I picked up the rifle and went to the window. The voice came again. Female. Young. Scared. Please. I know someone's there. I saw your smoke. I'm hurt. I need help. I scanned the tree line. Couldn't see anyone. The voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. "Show yourself," I called back. Silence. Then, "I can't. I'm hiding. There are some of them nearby. If I come out, they'll see me." Sarah moved beside me. "We have to help her." "No." "Jake, she's terrified. I'll listen to her." I was listening. That was the problem. The voice was scared, but it was also off, wrong pitch, like someone imitating fear without quite understanding it. "If you need help, come to the clearing," I called. "Hands up where we can see them. Slow." Nothing. The woods stayed still. Then that clicking started up. Multiple sources, all around us. The voice didn't call again. We stayed locked down until dark. I kept watch through the shutters. Sarah sat in the corner with the shotgun, not saying anything. Somewhere around midnight, the clicking stopped. Day 32. Found something this morning that made my blood cold. I went to check the latrine pit. Basic maintenance. Someone had been there. Not infected. They don't bother with things like latrines. Someone had opened the cover and looked inside. I could see handprints in the dirt around the edge. Human hands, normal size, but the fingerprints were smudged wrong, like the skin was sloughing off. They were scouting us, learning our routines, where we got water, where we disposed of waste, where we were vulnerable. I told Sarah we needed to change everything. New latrine location, vary our schedule, never go outside at the same time twice. She didn't argue. "Do you think it's just one of them?" she asked. "I don't know. The footprints yesterday were just one set. Doesn't mean anything. Could be a scout. Could be they're coordinating somehow." "That's not possible. The virus attacks higher brain function. They can't coordinate." I thought about the video from Sub-Level 3, the memo I'd seen. Cranial override, they'd called it. And what if the virus didn't just destroy the brain? What if it reprogrammed it, used what was left? "I think we need to move," I said. Sarah stared at me. "Move where? This is the safest place we have." Was the safest place. They know we're here now. Then where would we go? Good question. We had the truck, but it only had half a tank and gas stations weren't exactly operating. We had the supplies here. Moving them would take days and make us vulnerable. And for all I knew, everywhere else was worse. "Forget it," I said. "We stay, but we need to be smarter." We spent the day setting up early warning systems. Tin cans on string at the perimeter, bells hung from branches. Not sophisticated, but it would make noise if something came through. I also rigged up some surprises, buried a noisemaker under leaves on the main approach path. Oster set up a tripwire that would knock over a pile of metal drums near the logging road. Sarah worked on fortifying the cabin interior. She moved our bed away from the exterior wall, piled supplies against the windows for extra barrier, set up a fallback position in the loft with water and ammunition. We were getting ready for a siege. Day 33. They came at 3 in the morning. I was on watch, half asleep in the chair by the window. The bell system woke me up, tinkling from the northeast approach. I grabbed the rifle and moved to that side of the cabin. Couldn't see anything at first, then movement in the moonlight. 3 of them, moving slow, careful. They'd stop every few feet and stand completely still, like they were listening for something. I watched through the gap in the shutters. They reached the tripwire with the drums. The one in front stopped, tilted its head, looking at the wire. It stepped over it. They'd seen the trap, understood it, avoided it. I woke Sarah. She came to the window and watched with me. The 3 infected circled the cabin at about 50 yards out, never coming closer, just walking the perimeter. After 20 minutes, they left the same way they came. What the hell was that? Sarah whispered. Reconnaissance. They can't do reconnaissance. They're not. I know what they're not supposed to be. But you saw the same thing I did. We didn't sleep the rest of the night. When dawn came, I went outside to check the perimeter. Found something that made me wish I'd stayed in bed. They'd left marks, symbols scratched into tree bark at regular intervals. Not random scratches, deliberate patterns, circles with lines through them. The same symbol repeated 7 times around the cabin. What does it mean? Sarah asked. I had no idea. But the thought of infected humans creating symbols, communicating with each other, organizing, that was worse than anything I'd imagined. Day 34. The radio came back to life. Not the emergency broadcast, something else. A man's voice speaking calmly. No panic, no fear. If you're hearing this, you're alive. That puts you in a very small percentage. The outbreak has reached global saturation. Conservative estimates put survival rate at 0.003%. Approximately 200,000 humans remaining worldwide. Most will be dead within 6 months. Sarah grabbed my hand. We listened. The infected are evolving. The virus is mutating them faster than projected. Early-stage subjects displayed limited cognitive function. Current subjects show problem-solving ability, tool use, basic communication. Within 3 months, we estimate they will have regained enough neurological function to use weapons. Within 6 months, language. The voice paused. Static crackled. This is not sustainable. The infected outnumber survivors approximately 50,000 to 1. There is no coming back from this, I repeat. There is no coming back. If you have the means, I recommend taking your own life quickly. It will be less painful than the alternative. Click. The broadcast ended. Sarah was crying. I held her. Didn't know what to say. What was there to say? The man on the radio was right. We'd been living on borrowed time, pretending preparation meant survival. But you can't prepare for extinction. We're not giving up, Sarah said into my chest. I know. I mean it, Jake. I don't care what that voice said. We're not dead yet. I kissed her head. Didn't tell her what I was thinking. That maybe the voice was being merciful. That maybe quick was better than slow. That every day we lasted was just another day before the inevitable. Day 35. I found the first infected animal. Used to be a dog. German shepherd, maybe. Hard to tell with half its face gone. It was caught in one of my snares, the heavy gauge wire buried in its neck. Must have thrashed there for hours before dying. The wire had cut almost to the spine. But what made it wrong was the eyes. Same milky film as the human infected. And the way it had died. It had chewed through its own front leg, trying to escape. And the limb was still in the snare 10 feet away, teeth marks on the bone. I burned the body. Didn't want to risk Sarah seeing it. Bad enough I had to. That afternoon we heard helicopters. Far off, maybe 20 miles. The sound came and went for about an hour, then stopped. We didn't see them. Didn't know if they were military or civilian or something else. Didn't matter. They were gone. Day 36. Sarah won't eat. She says her stomach hurts. Says she feels sick. I checked her temperature. Normal. Checked her eyes. Clear. No bites, no scratches, no exposure that I know of. I'm fine, she insists. Just stressed. It'll pass. I made her soup. She had 3 spoons and threw it up an hour later. I'm trying not to panic. Trying to remember that people get sick for normal reasons too. Ulcers, food poisoning, anxiety. She's sleeping now. I'm watching her chest rise and fall, checking for any change. Her breathing sounds normal. No fever. I tell myself it's nothing. But my hands are shaking as I write this. Day 37. Sarah's worse. She woke up screaming this morning. Thought I was one of them. It took 20 minutes to calm her down. She doesn't remember it. Says she doesn't remember dreaming anything. Her eyes look sunken. She hasn't kept anything down in 2 days. I'm forcing water into her, but she fights me on it, says it tastes wrong. Like metal, she says. Everything tastes like metal. Metal, like copper, like blood. No, she's not infected. She can't be. I've been over every inch of her. There's no bite, no scratch, no way for the virus to get in. But what if it's airborne now? The radio said the virus was mutating. What if it doesn't need a bite anymore? I locked her in the bedroom, told her it was so she could rest. Really, I'm keeping her contained, just in case. She didn't argue. That scares me more than the screaming. Day 38. I know what's wrong with Sarah. Found her in the bathroom this morning. She'd been bleeding. Not a lot, but enough. She'd tried to hide it. How long? I asked. 2 weeks, maybe 3. I lost track. Why didn't you tell me? Because what difference does it make, Jake? It's not like we can go to a hospital. She was pregnant, or had been. The stress, the fear, the poor nutrition, miscarriage was probably inevitable. But that didn't make it easier. I held her while she cried. All the preparation in the world, and I hadn't prepared for this. For grief layered on top of survival. For loss that had nothing to do with the apocalypse and everything to do with it. She slept most of the day. I sat with her, holding her hand. Outside I could hear them clicking, like they knew, like they were waiting for us to be weak. Day 40. Sarah's talking about leaving. We can't stay here forever, she says. Eventually the supplies run out. Eventually something goes wrong. So we ration better. We hunt. We adapt. Jake, we're not adapting. We're hiding. There's a difference. She's right, but I don't want to admit it. This cabin, this bubble of safety, it's all we have. Out there is chaos, death, things that used to be human hunting anything that still is. Where would we go? I ask. I don't know. Somewhere with other people. That refugee camp, maybe? That was 3 weeks ago. It's probably gone by now. Then somewhere else. There have to be other survivors. And if there aren't? She doesn't answer. We sit in silence. Outside, the woods are dark. I think about the voice on the radio. 200,000 humans left, scattered across the whole planet. The odds of finding another living person are astronomical. The odds of finding one that won't kill you for your supplies are worse. We'll think about it, I say. Sarah nods, but I can see it in her eyes. She's already decided. It's just a matter of time. Day 42. Something happened to the truck. I went to check on it this morning. I try to start it once a week, keep the battery fresh. The hood was up, not broken open, not smashed. Opened. Someone had pulled the latch. The battery was gone. Cables cut clean. Whoever did it knew what they were doing. I scanned the woods. Nothing moved, but I could feel eyes on me, that prickling sensation on the back of your neck. I was being watched. I went back inside and told Sarah. She took it better than I expected. Good, she said. Good? Now we have to leave. No choice. She was right. Without the truck, we were stuck. But we couldn't stay stuck. Winter was coming. We needed more supplies, better shelter, something sustainable. We'll go on foot, I said. Pack light, weapons, water, food for a week. Head south, try to get below the snow line before it hits. When? I looked outside. Clear sky. No sign of weather change. But that didn't mean anything. Mountains could turn in hours. Tomorrow, I said. First light. We spent the rest of the day packing. Sarah made lists on organized supplies. I cleaned and loaded every weapon we had. 2 rifles, the shotgun, 3 pistols. More ammunition than we could carry, but I packed it anyway. Better to have it and not need it. That night we barely slept. Just lay there holding each other, listening to the woods. Somewhere around 2 in the morning, the clicking started up again. Closer than before. Right outside the cabin. I got up and looked through the shutter. A group of them stood in the clearing. 7, maybe 8. Just standing there, staring at the cabin, like they knew we were leaving, like they were waiting. Day 43. We didn't leave. I woke up to silence. Total silence. No wind, no birds, nothing. The kind of quiet that makes your ears ring. Sarah was already up, standing at the window. "They're gone," she said. I looked, and the clearing was empty. No infected in sight. The woods looked normal, peaceful even. Sunlight cutting through the trees at low angle, dew sparkling on the grass. "Where did they go?" I asked. "I don't know. They were there all night. I was watching. Then the sun came up and they just left, all at once. We should have run, should have grabbed the packs and gone while we had the chance. But something felt wrong. Too convenient. Too easy. I went outside to scout. Sarah covered me from the window. I made a full circle of the cabin. No tracks except the ones from the night before. No fresh marks, no signs they'd been back. Then I saw it. On the trail heading east. The one we would have taken. A backpack, sitting in the middle of the path like someone had dropped it. I approached carefully. Rifle up, scanning for ambush. The pack was new, expensive. Not the kind of thing you'd see in these woods normally. I kicked it, heavy, full of something. I opened it. Inside were supplies. Food, water, ammunition. Everything we needed for travel. And on top, a note. Handwritten, shaky letters. "Stay put. They are hurting." I grabbed the pack and ran back to the cabin, showed Sarah the note. "What does it mean?" she asked. "It means someone's watching us, someone alive, and they're saying the infected are trying to drive us somewhere." "Drive us where?" I thought about the symbols on the trees, the coordinated movements, the way they'd circled the cabin. Away from here, into the open, where we're vulnerable. Sarah sat down hard. "Oh God." "We're not leaving," I said. "Not yet. Not until we understand what's happening." She nodded, but her hands were shaking. Mine were too. Day 45. I found who left the pack. I was checking the north perimeter when I saw movement. A person, living person, crouched behind a fallen log about 200 yards out. They saw me see them. Stood up slow, hands raised. Man, maybe 60. Thin, bearded, wearing camouflage that had seen better days. He had a rifle, but it was slung across his back. "Don't shoot," he called. "I'm the one who left the supplies." I kept my rifle on him. "Come forward, slowly." He did. As he got closer, I could see he was in rough shape. Gaunt, hollow-eyed, but steady, alert. "My name's Earl," he said. "I've been watching your place for about a week." "Why?" "Because you're alive. Because I haven't seen another living person in a month, and I needed to know you were real. You could have just knocked." He laughed. Dry, humorless sound. "You would have shot me." "No, I needed to observe first. Make sure you weren't compromised." "Compromised how?" Some of them look normal, for a while. The virus doesn't always show right away, especially if you've got natural resistance. There's natural resistance. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. But I've seen things that don't add up. People who should be turned, but aren't. People who are turned, but still have enough of themselves left to fake it. I thought about the voice that had called from the woods. The fake cry for help. "Come inside," I said. "We need to talk." Sarah wasn't happy about it, but she didn't argue. We sat Earl down, gave him water, and he drank it like he hadn't had clean water in weeks. Maybe he hadn't. "Where are you camped?" I asked. "About 3 miles north. Cave system, natural shelter, defensible. I've been there since the outbreak." "Alone?" "Now, yes. I had a group. 5 of us. They're gone." "Infected?" "Worse. Disappeared. We had a camp, good camp. Fortified. Then one night they just walked away. All of them, like sleepwalkers. I tried to stop them, but they didn't even see me. They walked straight into the woods, and I never saw them again." Sarah and I exchanged looks. "When was this?" I asked. 3 weeks ago. I've been trying to figure it out since. Why them and not me? What made them vulnerable? Maybe you're resistant, like you said. Maybe, or maybe I'm next. We talked for hours. Earl had been a park ranger before everything fell apart. He knew the area better than anyone. He confirmed what we'd suspected. The infected were changing, getting smarter. He'd seen them using tools, setting up basic ambushes, even communicating with something more complex than clicks. "They're building something," he said. "About 10 miles east. I don't know what. Some kind of structure." I got close enough to see dozens of them working together, moving materials, coordinating. It's not random anymore. "What do you think it is?" Sarah asked. "I think the virus is using them, building infrastructure, preparing for the next stage." "Next stage of what?" Earl looked at us. His eyes were haunted. "Evolution. The virus doesn't want to kill us all. It wants to convert us, all of us. And once it has enough hosts, enough biomass, and I think it's going to do something bigger." "That's insane," Sarah said. "Is it? You've seen what they can do. You've seen how fast they adapt. This isn't just an infection, it's an invasion. And we're losing." Day 46. Earl's staying with us. He offered to leave, but Sarah insisted he stay. Said we're stronger together. I'm not sure I agree, but I didn't argue. Truth is, having another person here who knows what they're doing is a relief. Earl's competent. He checks the perimeter without being asked, notices things I miss, doesn't waste supplies. He's also afraid. I can see it in the way he watches the woods, the way his hand never strays far from his weapon. He's seen things he won't talk about yet. Tonight, we're all on watch. No one trusts the quiet anymore. Day 47. We heard the helicopters again. Closer this time. Earl saw them through a gap in the trees, military birds, flying in formation. They passed overhead, heading northwest. We watched them disappear over the ridge. "Think they're evacuating people?" Sarah asked. "Maybe," Earl said. "Or bombing. Hard to tell these days." "Bombing what?" "Concentrations. If the infected are gathering in groups, military might be trying to take out the hives before they get too big." "Hives?" I asked. "That's what I call them. The structures they're building. Looked like hives to me. All those bodies moving in coordination, building something bigger than themselves." The thought made my skin crawl. I'd been trying not to imagine what the infected were doing with their new intelligence. Hives, structures, organization. It was too much. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Earl's group walking into the woods. Sleepwalkers. What if the virus could do that? What if it could just call you, override your will, and make you walk to it? I got up and checked on Sarah. She was sleeping, but restless, twitching. I almost woke her to check her eyes, but stopped myself. Paranoia. Just paranoia. Earl was on the porch when I went out. "Can't sleep either?" he asked. "Something like that." We stood in silence. The woods were alive with small sounds. Insects, wind, distant clicking. "You did good here," Earl said. "Preparing like this?" Most people didn't believe it could happen until it was too late. I believed because I saw it coming. I worked for the company that made the virus. Earl looked at me. "You're shitting me." I wish I was. I told him everything. The memo, the video, Dr. E. Allison, the whole history. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a long time. Then, "So this was intentional." "The virus, yeah. The outbreak, I don't know. Could have been an accident. Could have been deliberate. Does it matter now?" "It matters if there's a cure. If they made it, they might have made a way to stop it. The people who made it are probably dead." "Probably. But maybe not. Maybe somewhere there's a lab still running, people still working on it. Maybe that's what the military's doing, looking for a cure." I wanted to believe him, but I'd seen the research. The virus was designed to be irreversible. Once it got into your nervous system, there was no coming back. That was the whole point. "There's no cure," I said. "Then we better get comfortable with the apocalypse." Day 50. Earl was right about the hive. We went to see it. Against my better judgment, against everything I knew about staying hidden. But we needed to know what we were dealing with. It took us 4 hours to hike there, moving slow, staying quiet. Earl led the way, using deer trails and dry creek beds to avoid leaving tracks. Sarah stayed behind at the cabin with the radio and instructions to run if she heard gunfire. We smelled it before we saw it. Rot and ammonia and something else. Something chemical, like a hospital mixed with a slaughterhouse. Earl signaled us to stop. We were on a ridge overlooking a valley. Below, maybe half a mile away, was the structure. It was massive, 20 feet tall at the center, spreading out in organic curves like a wasp nest made by something that only vaguely understood geometry. The walls were gray-brown, glistening in the sunlight. As we watched, infected moved around it. Dozens of them. Carrying things, adding to the walls, working. "What are they building it with?" I whispered. Earl handed me binoculars. I looked closer. Bile rose in my throat. The walls were made of bodies, not just dead bodies, living infected, pressed together, fused somehow. I could see faces in the mass, mouths open, eyes moving. The whole structure was alive. "Jesus Christ," I breathed. "It's a nursery," Earl said. "Look at the center." I adjusted the binoculars. In the middle of the structure was a chamber, and in the chamber was something I didn't have words for. Flesh and bone configured into something that shouldn't exist. It was pulsing, growing. "What is that?" "I think it's the next stage. The virus is using the infected to build new forms on something beyond human." We watched for an hour. The infected worked without rest, without pause. Some of them collapsed and were immediately incorporated into the structure. New ones emerged from the woods to take their place. It was a cycle, a system. "We need to burn it," I said. "Can't. Look how many there are. We'd never get close enough." "Then we tell someone. The military. Someone." "Who?" "The military that's busy evacuating or bombing. They probably already know. And if they don't, how would we tell them?" He was right. We were on our own. We hiked back in silence. Sarah knew something was wrong when we got back. We told her everything. She took it better than I expected. "So, what do we do?" she asked. "We survive," Earl said. "That's all we can do. Stay hidden. Stay quiet. I hope they don't find us." But I could see in his eyes he didn't believe it. And neither did I. Day 53, the radio is picking up something new. Not voices, signals, repeating patterns of static and tone. Sarah thinks it's Morse code, but neither of us knows Morse. Earl might. He's trying to decode it. We've been listening for hours. The pattern repeats every 15 minutes. Long and short bursts, rhythmic. It's definitely artificial. Someone or something is broadcasting. "Got it," Earl says. He's written down the message. "Convergence point Alpha. All survivors report. Coordinates follow." Then a string of numbers. Latitude and longitude. Earl plots it on a map. It's about 60 miles south, in the mountains. "Could be a trap," I say. "Could be our only chance," Sarah counters. "Chance for what? To walk into an ambush? To find out the military is rounding up survivors for experiments? Or to find other people, real people, a community?" We argue for an hour. Earl stays neutral. Finally, we agree to sit on it. Monitor the signal, see if anything changes. That night, the signal does change. Different pattern. Earl decodes it. "Convergence in 72 hours. Last call. Bring supplies. Bring weapons. Bring hope." Bring hope. Like it's something you can carry. Day 55. Sarah wants to go to the convergence point. "We have to try," she says. "We can't live like this forever. We've been living like this for less than 2 months. And how long can we keep it up? Another month? 6 months? A year? Then what? We die of old age in this cabin having never seen another human being." She's got a point. I hate that she's got a point. Earl weighs in. "I'll go scout it. Leave tomorrow. Be back in 4 days. Check it out from a distance. See if it's legitimate. If you don't come back, we'll assume it's not," I say. "If I don't come back, you'll know not to go." That's worth something. He leaves at dawn. Sarah and I watch him disappear into the trees. Then we're alone again. The cabin feels smaller without him, quieter. We go through our routines on autopilot. Check perimeter, inventory supplies, clean weapons, cook food, eat, sleep, repeat. On the 3rd night, I wake up to Sarah standing at the window. "What's wrong?" I ask. "Listen." I listen. At first I don't hear it, then I do. Singing, far off, echoing through the valley. Human voices singing something I almost recognize. A hymn maybe, or a lullaby. "Where's it coming from?" Sarah whispers. "I don't know." We stand there listening. The singing goes on for 20 minutes, then stops abruptly. After that, silence. "That wasn't infected," Sarah says. "How do you know?" "Because infected don't sing." "Maybe they do now." She looks at me. In the dim light, I can see fear in her eyes. Real fear. "Jake, what if Earl's right? What if they're evolving into something we can't understand? Then we're fucked. But we've been fucked since day one. This doesn't change anything. It changes everything. If they can sing, if they can communicate, if they can build, they're not just infected anymore. They're something new." I don't have an answer. We go back to bed, but neither of us sleeps. Day 59. Earl came back. He looks worse. Thinner, exhausted, but alive. "It's real," he says. "The convergence point. There's a settlement. Maybe 200 people. Military presence, walls, generators. It's organized." "How'd you get close enough to see that?" I ask. "I didn't. I met a scout, woman named Patricia. She's part of the perimeter guard. We talked for an hour. She invited me in, but I said I had people to get first. Sarah's eyes light up. 200 people? Give or take. They've been gathering survivors for weeks. Started as a military operation, but it's civilian run now. They've got food production, water purification, medical facilities. It's not perfect, but it's sustainable. What's the catch? I ask. Catch? There's always a catch. Nothing's free, especially in the apocalypse. Earl hesitates. Everyone contributes. You work for your keep. Guards, farmers, builders, medics, whatever skills you have. That's it? That's the catch? That and they screen everyone, test for infection, quarantine for 48 hours before you're allowed in. Test how? Sarah asks. Blood test, eye exam, neurological assessment. They can detect early-stage infection, apparently. I don't like it. Too organized, too good to be true. But Sarah's already packing. We're going, she says. Not a question. I look at Earl. He shrugs. I'm going. Whether you come or not is up to you. They're right. We can't stay here forever. Winter's coming. Supplies are running low despite rationing, and the infected are getting more active. We've seen groups of them passing through almost daily now, heading south toward the mountains, toward the convergence point. Fine, I say. We leave tomorrow. That night I can't sleep. I keep thinking about the settlement. 200 people, walls, organization. It sounds like safety. But safety is what people sell you right before they rob you blind. I check the weapons, count the ammunition, pack and repack the bags until Sarah tells me to stop. It's going to be okay, she says. You don't know that. No, but I'm choosing to believe it anyway. I wish I could. Day 60. We left at first light. 3 of us, 30 miles of rough terrain, unknown dangers. We packed light, water, food for a week, weapons, basic medical supplies. Left everything else at the cabin. Part of me hopes we'll come back for it. Part of me knows we won't. The first day is uneventful. We make good time, covering about 10 miles before dark. Earl knows the area, keeps us off main trails, away from likely infected concentrations. We camp in a dense thicket. No fire. Taking turns on watch. I take second watch. Midnight to 3. The woods are alive with sounds, but nothing approaches. I think about the cabin. Wonder if the infected have found it yet. Wonder if they're tearing it apart looking for us. Sarah sleeps fitfully. She's been having nightmares. Won't talk about them, but I can guess. The same things I dream about. Faces in the walls, singing in the dark. The knowledge that humanity is being replaced by something else. Day 61. We found a car, abandoned on a Forest Service road, driver's door open, keys in the ignition. Toyota SUV, maybe 5 years old. Tank showing a quarter full. Could get us there faster, Earl says. Could also get us killed, I counter. Engine noise will draw every infected in 10 miles. Or save us 2 days of walking. My vote's for the car. Sarah agrees. I'm outvoted. We pile in, Earl drives. I ride shotgun with the rifle. Sarah's in back with the shotgun. The engine turns over on the first try. We pull out onto the road, and immediately I know this is a mistake. The sound echoes off the trees. Too loud, way too loud. We make it 5 miles before we see the first one, standing in the road ahead. Used to be a state trooper, still wearing the uniform. It doesn't move as we approach. Go around, I say. Earl swerves. The infected watches us pass, doesn't follow, doesn't attack, just watches. That was weird, Sarah says. Maybe it's not aggressive anymore, Earl suggests. Or maybe it's calling friends. I'm right. A mile later, we round a bend, and there are 20 of them, blocking the road completely, standing shoulder to shoulder, waiting. Hold on, Earl says. He guns it. We hit the line at 40 miles an hour. Bodies fly over the hood. The windshield cracks. Something grabs onto the roof rack. Sarah screams. I lean out the window and fire 3 times. The thing falls away. We're through. But the car's making a bad sound now. Grinding. Something's broken. Keep going, I say. Earl pushes it. The grinding gets worse. Smoke starts coming from under the hood. We make it another mile before the engine seizes. Earl pulls over. End of the ride, he says. We bail out. I can hear them behind us, that clicking, getting closer. Move, Earl says. We run, off the road, into the woods. Heavy packs, uneven ground. Sarah falls. I help her up. Earl's ahead, making for high ground. The clicking's all around us now. I see one coming from the left. Fire without aiming. Miss. Fire again. It goes down. More coming. Then we reach a rocky outcrop. Earl's scrambling up. I boost Sarah. She climbs. I follow. Rocks scraping my hands, the pack catching on branches. We reach the top. Small plateau, maybe 20 feet across. Defensible. I turn and look down, dozens of them, surrounding the outcrop, looking up at us, not climbing, not attacking, just standing there. Why aren't they coming up? Sarah asks. I don't know. We watch them. They watch us. Stand off. This goes on for an hour. Then, like before, they just leave. All at once. File away into the woods like they got bored. What the hell was that? Earl says. I think about the research. The memo. Cranial override, they'd called it. What if the virus could coordinate action across multiple hosts? What if those weren't individuals, but parts of a larger intelligence? We need to keep moving, I say. Day 62. We reach the convergence point. Took us another day of hard hiking. No more infected encounters. Just miles of forest and ruined roads, and the constant sense of being watched. The settlement appeared around noon. Earl was right. It's organized. 12-foot walls made from shipping containers welded together. Guard towers, spotlights. A gate that looks like it could stop a tank. There are people on the walls. Living people. They see us approach and weapons come up. Stop right there, someone calls. Hands up. Drop the packs. We comply. 4 guards come out. They're professional, efficient. Pat us down, check for bites, confiscate our weapons. You'll get them back after screening, the leader says. Woman, maybe 40, military bearing. I'm Captain Reeves. Welcome to New Hope. New Hope. Of course they named it that. They take us to a quarantine building, separate rooms. Sarah goes without arguing. Earl does too. I'm left alone in a concrete cell with a cot and a bucket. Hour later, someone comes for blood. Young guy, medical training. Draws 3 vials, asks questions. Have I been bitten? Exposed to bodily fluids? Experiencing headaches, nausea, light sensitivity? No to all of it. He leaves. I wait. The cell has a small window. I can see part of the settlement. People moving around. Children even. It looks almost normal. Almost like the world didn't end. I don't trust it. Day 64. We pass screening. They let us out. Give us back our weapons. Assign us quarters. A shipping container converted into a small apartment. 1 room, 2 beds. Running water. Sarah cries when she sees the shower. Earl gets his own container next door. That night we eat in the community mess. Real food. Fresh vegetables from a greenhouse. Bread. Coffee. Things we haven't had in months. People are friendly but cautious. Everyone's lost something. Everyone has a story. A woman named Helen tells us about watching her kids turn. A man named David describes the refugee camp he escaped from when it fell. After dinner, Captain Reeves gives us the tour, shows us the gardens, the water system, the armory, explains how things work here. Everyone contributes 4 hours a day. Guard duty, farming, construction, whatever's needed. In exchange, you get food, shelter, safety. What about long term? I ask. This can't last forever. It doesn't have to last forever, Reeves says. Just long enough. For what? For the military to restore order. For a cure. For the infected to die off. Take your pick. None of those things are happening. I can see it in her eyes. She knows it too. But people need hope. Even false hope. Day 67. I've been assigned to wall duty. 4 hours a day walking the perimeter, watching for infected. It's boring work, but necessary. They come sometimes, stand outside the walls, watch, then leave. The other guards talk about it. Theories about what they're doing. Some think they're evolving past the need to attack. Some think they're planning something. One guy, his name's Trevor, thinks they're communicating with the survivors somehow, trying to convert us gradually. That's insane, I tell him. Is it? My wife passed screening. Clean blood, clear eyes, perfect health. 3 days later, she walked out the gate, just walked out. Guards tried to stop her, but she fought them. Superhuman strength. She's one of them now. Maybe she was faking it during screening. They don't fake. They can't. The virus destroys deception, makes them pure. Pure. What a word for it. Sarah's been assigned to the greenhouse. She seems happy, or as happy as anyone can be. She's made friends with some of the women. They talk about seeds and soil, pH and crop rotation like it matters. Maybe it does. Maybe that's how you survive, by pretending the small things still matter. Day 70. Something's wrong with New Hope. People are disappearing. Not many. 1 or 2 a week. Reeves says they're deserters. People who couldn't handle the rules. But I've been watching. The ones who disappear aren't malcontents. They're true believers. The ones who talk about rebuilding, about futures. And I mention it to Earl. He's noticed too. Think it's the infected? He asks. If it is, how are they getting in? The walls are solid. The gates are guarded. Maybe they don't need to get in. Maybe they're already here. We start paying attention, watching people, looking for signs, dilated pupils, excessive salivation, strange behavior. Day 73. Found our first carrier. Man named Richard. Worked in the gardens with Sarah. He seemed fine, normal, until I saw him in the mess hall standing perfectly still for 5 minutes. Not breathing, not blinking, just standing. When he moved again, it was sudden, jerky. He walked out and no one stopped him. No one even seemed to notice. I followed him. He went to the east wall. There's a drainage culvert there, covered with steel grating. Then Richard knelt down and started making that sound. Clicking. Something clicked back from the other side of the grate. They were communicating. I reported it to Reeves. She sent guards. They found Richard trying to pry open the grate. When they grabbed him, he went berserk. Took 4 of them to restrain him. They put him in isolation. That night, I heard screaming from the isolation building. It went on for hours. By morning, silence. Reeves called a meeting. Told everyone Richard had been infected. That screening wasn't perfect. That we needed to be vigilant. How did he get infected? Someone asked. We don't know. Could have been dormant. Could have been recent exposure. We're investigating. No one believed her. I could see it in their faces. fear spreading faster than any virus. Day 75. They found 3 more carriers. All of them passed screening. All of them showing delayed symptoms. Reeves instituted new protocols. Daily blood tests, mandatory neurological exams. Anyone showing signs gets isolated immediately. People are scared. I'm scared. If the virus can hide long enough to pass screening, nowhere is safe. Sarah's been quiet. I asked if she's okay. I don't know, she said. What if I'm infected? What if you are? How would we even know? We'd know. Would we? Richard didn't know. Or maybe he did and couldn't fight it. I held her. Didn't have answers. Day 78. The walls are failing, not physically. Structurally, they're fine. But psychologically, people are turning on each other. Accusations, paranoia. Yesterday, someone got beaten for sneezing too much. Turned out he had allergies. Reeves is losing control. She knows it. And I can see the strain on her face. She's sleeping in her office. Gun on her desk, like she's waiting for the end. Earl thinks we should leave. This place is imploding. Better to take our chances outside. And go where? Sarah asks. Anywhere. Nowhere. Does it matter? We're sitting in our container. Outside I can hear arguments. Someone's accusing someone else of being infected. Mob logic taking over. We leave tomorrow, I say, before it gets worse. Sarah nods. Earl does too. We pack in silence. Take only what we can carry. Weapons, food, water. The essentials. That night I can't sleep. I keep thinking about Richard. About the others. About how the virus is adapting faster than we can defend against it. About how hope might be the most dangerous thing left. Day 79. We never made it out. The alarm went off at 3 a.m. A breach, east wall. Everyone to positions. I grabbed my rifle and ran. Sarah followed. Earl was already outside. The wall hadn't been breached. It had been opened, from the inside. The gate was wide open, and they were pouring in. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. Gunfire everywhere, screaming, people running. I saw Reeves on the wall, firing into the mass, shouting orders no one could hear. Sarah grabbed my arm. We have to go. Where? Anywhere. We ran, through the chaos, past people fighting, past people dying, past people just standing there, accepting it. Found a gap in the north wall. Shipping container had shifted, left a crawl space. We squeezed through, Earl right behind us. We ran into the woods. Didn't look back, didn't stop until we couldn't hear the screaming anymore. When we finally stopped, I did look back, on smoke rising from New Hope. Fires, the sound of automatic weapons, then silence. They're all dead, Sarah whispered. We don't know that. Jake, they're all dead. She was probably right. Day 82. We've been walking for 3 days. No destination, just away. Away from New Hope, away from the settlement, away from the failure. We found an abandoned ranger station yesterday. Held up here for the night. It's not secure, but we're too tired to care. Earl's been quiet. Sarah too. We're all processing what happened. How fast it fell apart. How little our preparation mattered in the end. I keep thinking about the gate. How it was opened from inside. Someone let them in. Someone infected. Someone who'd been living among us, waiting for the right moment. We can't trust anyone, Earl says. Not even each other. That's paranoid, Sarah says. Is it? How do we know one of us isn't infected right now? How do we know we're not walking around with it dormant, waiting to activate? We don't, I say. But if we start assuming we're all infected, we might as well eat a bullet now. Silence. Then Earl laughs. Bitter sound. You're right. Fuck it. We're alive. That's something. Day 85. Found something today that changes everything. We were scouting an old facility. Looked abandoned, promising for supplies. It was a research building, government contracted. And on the directory by the entrance, one name stood out: Corvus Biomedical, subcontractor for neurological research. This is one of their sites, I told the others. So, Earl asked. So maybe there's information here about the virus, about how it works. Well, maybe even about how to stop it. The facility had been ransacked, but the sublevels were intact, security doors still sealed. We found a way in through ventilation. The labs were pristine, like everyone had just walked away mid-experiment. Computers still on, samples still in refrigeration, and files. Thousands of files. I spent hours reading. Sarah and Earl kept watch. What I found made me sick. The virus wasn't an accident. It was intentional, not just the creation, the release. It was a field test. Stage 1 of something called Project Synthesis. The goal wasn't to kill humanity. It was to evolve it, to use the virus to rewrite human neurology, create a new species, one that could be controlled, directed, optimized. The infected weren't the end result. They were the transition phase, and then somewhere in these files was information about what came next. Day 86. I found video logs. Dr. Werner, the man from the original memo. He recorded everything, his descent into madness, or what he thought was enlightenment. The virus is beautiful, he says in one log. It strips away everything that makes us weak: fear, doubt, individuality. What emerges is pure, perfect, a collective consciousness operating at peak efficiency. Another log. The military doesn't understand. They think this is a weapon. It's not. It's an upgrade. Humanity 2.0, and I volunteered to be the first. The last log is dated 2 weeks before the outbreak. Werner sitting in a chair, calm, smiling. I'm infected now. Stage 1 complete. I can feel it working. It's beautiful. In 72 hours, I'll be something new. Something better. This message is for anyone who finds it. Don't resist. Join us. Evolution is inevitable. The video cuts to static. Jesus Christ, Sarah says. She's been watching over my shoulder. He released it on purpose, I say. Him and others. They wanted this. Why? Because they were true believers. They thought they were saving humanity by destroying it. Earl's found something else. A map, showing locations of other facilities, other research sites, dozens of them, all over the country. If this place had research, the others might too, he says. Maybe even a cure. There's no cure, I say. That's not how this virus works. Then what? We just give up? I look at the files, at the data, at 30 years of research into neurological manipulation. And I realize something. Not a cure, I say. An immunity. If we can understand how the virus rewrites neurology, we might be able to prevent it from taking hold. Inoculate ourselves. How? Sarah asks. I pull up a file. There were test subjects. People who showed natural resistance. They studied them. Sequenced their genetics. If we can find those sequences, maybe we can replicate them. It's a long shot. A desperate, probably impossible long shot. But it's something. Day 90. We've been here for 5 days. Working around the clock. I'm trying to synthesize an immunity treatment using the research files. Earl's scavenging supplies from other parts of the facility. Sarah's keeping watch and maintaining our safety. The process is complicated. I'm not a geneticist, barely understand half of what I'm reading. But the facility has an automated synthesis lab. And if I can program the right sequences, it might work. Might. Day 93. First test batch is ready. I've synthesized what I think is an immunity booster. based on the genetics of subject 14A, a woman who showed complete resistance to infection even after multiple exposures. The question is, who tests it? I'll do it, Earl volunteers. No, Sarah says. If it doesn't work, we need Earl, his survival skills. Jake, you should do it. You understand the science. If something goes wrong, you can adjust it. And if I die? Then we know it doesn't work. She's right. I hate it, but she's right. I inject myself with the first dose. It's supposed to work gradually, building resistance over 48 hours. For the next 2 days, I'll be vulnerable. If I get infected, the treatment failed. Sarah and Earl watch me for signs. Fever, confusion, aggression. Nothing so far. Just normal fear and exhaustion. Day 95. I'm still human. The treatment didn't kill me. Whether it worked is another question. The only way to know for sure would be exposure to the virus. I'm not volunteering for that. We synthesized more doses, enough for all 3 of us. Sarah takes hers, Earl takes his. Now we wait. Day 97. We're leaving the facility. We've extracted everything useful. Files backed up on portable drives. Synthesized enough immunity treatment for maybe 24 people. Gathered weapons and supplies. Before we go, I do something that feels important. I record a message. Leave it broadcasting on the emergency frequency. If you're alive and hearing this, there's hope. We found research. A possible immunity treatment. I'm leaving coordinates to this facility. Come here, learn what we learned. Maybe you can do better. Maybe you can save more people. Don't give up. I give the coordinates, set the message to loop. Then we leave. Outside the facility, the world is still wrong. Still infected, still dying. But now we have something we didn't before. A chance. Day 100, 3 figures on the horizon. We're camped in an abandoned farm. Been here 2 days, resting. This morning, Sarah spotted them coming up the road. I grab my rifle. So does Earl. We watch through the windows. They're moving normal. No clicking, no stuttering gait. Human. They get close enough, and I can see they're armed, but not aggressive. One of them, a woman, maybe 30, calls out. Hello? We heard your broadcast. We're looking for the research facility. I step out onto the porch. Rifle lowered, but ready. You found who made the broadcast. Her face lights up. You found immunity? It's real? Maybe. We don't know if it works yet. We've taken it, but haven't been exposed. We can fix that, she says. Not threatening, matter of fact. There's an infected about a mile back, following us. We can capture it. Run a test. Sarah comes out. You want to expose us on purpose? You want to know if your treatment works, don't you? She's not wrong. Day 101. We ran the test. The woman's name is Claire. Her group, 3 survivors from Colorado, helped us set up a controlled exposure. We caught one of the infected, restrained it. Claire volunteered to be bitten. I already took your immunity treatment, she said. Synthesized a dose from the specs you left. If it works, I'll be fine. If not. She shrugged. We tied her to a chair, brought in the infected, let it bite her arm. 1 clean bite. Then we killed it and cleaned the wound. Now we wait. Claire's in quarantine. Locked room, observation window. The bite is on her left forearm. We marked it. Drew a circle around the wound. 6 hours in, she developed a fever. That's normal. The virus enters through the wound, spreads through the bloodstream. 12 hours in, her eyes started to dilate. She's sweating. Confusion setting in. It's not working, Sarah whispers. But at hour 15, the fever breaks. Her eyes clear. The wound is healing clean, no infection spreading. Claire looks at us through the window. Smile. "I think it worked," she says. "We keep her in quarantine for 48 hours, standard protocol." But she never turns, never shows advanced symptoms. The immunity treatment worked. We have a chance. Day 105. More survivors have arrived. Word is spreading. The broadcast reached farther than I thought. People are coming. Not hundreds, not thousands, but dozens. 23 so far. We've set up a camp at the research facility, using it as a base. I'm teaching people how to synthesize the immunity treatment. It's not perfect. About 30% of subjects show adverse reactions. But 70% immunity is better than zero. We're not rebuilding civilization, not yet. But we're surviving with purpose now. That's new. Earl's been training people in wilderness survival. Sarah's organizing supply runs. I'm running the lab, producing more treatment. I'm trying to refine the formula. At night we sit around a fire and tell stories about before, about what we lost, about what we might still save. It's not hope exactly. Hope seems naive, but it's something. Determination maybe. Spite. The refusal to let the virus win. Day 112. We found another facility, based on the map from the first site. This one's in the mountains. Bigger. More advanced research. And according to the files, it had something called the Genesis Protocol. I don't like the sound of that. We're planning an expedition. Take a small team, investigate, extract any useful information. Claire's coming. Earl. Sarah wants to, but I asked her to stay and manage the camp. She wasn't happy, but agreed. We leave tomorrow. Day 114. The Genesis facility is worse than I imagined. It's not abandoned. It's active, powered. We can hear machinery running inside. "Someone's here," Claire says. "Or something," Earl counters. We breach through a service entrance. The interior is pristine, climate-controlled, no signs of struggle or outbreak. It's like the apocalypse never reached this place. We find them in the central lab. 7 people in white coats working at terminals. They don't react when we enter. Don't even look up. "Hello?" I call out. One of them, a man, middle-aged, turns. His eyes are wrong, that milky film. But he's not aggressive. He's not clicking. He's working. "Welcome," he says, voice flat, emotionless. "We've been expecting survivors." Expecting? The simulation predicted a survival rate of 0.003%. You're within parameters. I raise my rifle. "What simulation?" "Project Synthesis, Stage 2. The virus was Stage 1, human reduction, neurological optimization of remaining population. Stage 2 is integration. We're building the framework for the new consciousness." He says it like he's describing a weather pattern. No emotion, no humanity. "You're infected," Claire says. "We're upgraded. The virus doesn't control us. We control it. And soon, we'll control everything." The other researchers have stopped working. They're all looking at us now. Same dead eyes, same flat effect. "We need to leave," Earl says. "But the doors have locked. Magnetic seals. We're trapped." "You'll be integrated," the researcher says. "Added to the collective. Your immunity treatment was anticipated. We've already developed a counteragent. Within 72 hours, you'll be like us. I'm perfect." I look at Earl, at Claire. We're thinking the same thing. We start shooting. Day 115. We barely made it out. The infected researchers weren't aggressive, but they were coordinated, working together with perfect synchronization. They didn't fight us. They trapped us. Sealed rooms. cut power, released some kind of aerosol. We smashed through a window, 3 stories up. Claire broke her leg in the fall. Earl carried her while I provided cover. We're 10 miles from the facility now, moving slow. Claire's in bad shape. The leg is fractured, maybe broken. We need to get her back to camp, but I can feel it. The aerosol, something in my lungs, in my blood. The immunity treatment is fighting it, but I can feel the virus adapting, trying to find a way in. "Jake, your eyes," Earl says, and I look at my reflection in a puddle. Pupils dilated, the whites bloodshot. It's starting. "How long do I have?" I ask. "I don't know." "Get Claire back to camp. Tell Sarah what we found. Tell her to run. Take everyone and run. Don't try to fight this." "Jake, go." That's an order. Earl looks at me, nods. He picks up Claire and starts moving. I watch them go. Then I turn back toward the Genesis facility. If I'm going to turn, I'm taking that place with me. Day 116, I'm still me. Mostly. The virus is in me. I can feel it, moving through my neurons, rewriting. But the immunity treatment is fighting back, creating a stalemate. I can think, I can remember. But there's something else now. A presence. Like someone else is in my head. Watching, waiting. I made it back to the Genesis facility. Found the power core. I'd rigged it to overload using materials from the armory. Enough explosives to level the building. The infected researchers didn't try to stop me. They just watched. Like they knew what I was doing and didn't care. "You can't stop the synthesis," one of them said. "This is just one node. There are hundreds. The collective is already forming. Then I'll destroy them all. You'll be one of us soon. You'll understand. You'll want what we want." I set the timer. 30 minutes. Enough time to get clear. But I'm not leaving. Day 117. The presence in my head is talking now. Not in words, in concepts, images. It's showing me things. The future it wants to build. A world without conflict, without suffering. Humanity merged into one consciousness. Perfect order. It's seductive. I can see why Werner believed, and why the researchers accepted it. It promises an end to pain. But it's not human. That's what it doesn't understand. Humanity isn't about being perfect. It's about being flawed and surviving anyway. The timer shows 5 minutes. I could leave. I could try to make it out. Live long enough to see Sarah again. Tell her I fought it. But I can feel the virus winning. The presence getting stronger. In an hour, maybe 2, I won't be me anymore. Better to end it now. Take this facility down. Hurt the collective. Give the survivors a chance. Sarah, if you ever read this, if anyone ever reads this, I'm sorry. I tried to prepare for everything, but I couldn't prepare for this. For the choice between becoming a monster and stopping one, I choose stopping. The timer shows 2 minutes. The infected are standing around me in a circle, watching, waiting, like they're curious what I'll do. I'm curious too. 1 minute. I think about the cabin, about those 30 days of preparation, about how none of it really mattered. You can't prepare for the end of the world. You can only face it when it comes. 30 seconds. Sarah, I love you. Earl, take care of her. Claire, I hope your leg heals. To whoever finds this, keep fighting. Keep running. Keep surviving. Don't let them win. 10 seconds. I can see the light building. The power core starting to cascade. 5, 4, 3. The presence in my head is screaming now. Not in anger, in understanding. It knows what I'm doing, what I'm sacrificing. 2, 1. The world goes white. Recovered journal entry, continuation. I woke up. That's not supposed to happen. Explosions don't work that way. You don't set off a facility's power core and wake up. But I did. I'm in a cell. Concrete walls, steel door, no windows. There's a cot, a toilet, a tray of food that looks real but I haven't touched. How long have I been here? I don't know. The lights never change. Could be hours, could be days. My head feels wrong. The presence is gone, but something else is there. Quiet, waiting. I checked my eyes in the reflection of the steel door. Clear. No film. Pupils normal. But I'm not me. Not completely. The door opens. A woman enters. Military uniform. Not infected. Her eyes are clear, alert. "Mr. Webb," she says. That's not my name. But I don't correct her. "Where am I?" "Secure facility? Northern California. You've been unconscious for 6 days." "The Genesis facility. Destroyed. You did a lot of damage. Killed 47 infected researchers. Set the collective back months." "Good. Is it? Those researchers were some of the smartest people left alive. Their knowledge is gone now. Their knowledge was being used to enslave humanity." She sits down across from me, studies my face. "You were exposed to a concentrated form of the virus, the aerosol from Genesis. By all rights, you should be one of them now. But you're not. Why?" "Immunity treatment. I synthesized it from..." "We know about your treatment. We've been monitoring your camp for weeks. The treatment doesn't explain this. You should have turned even with immunity. The Genesis strain was designed to overcome resistance." I don't have an answer. She leans forward. "We think you're something new. A hybrid. Human consciousness with viral enhancements. You can think like them but feel like us." "I don't want to be a hybrid. What you want isn't relevant. What you are is a weapon against the collective. We need you." "For what?" "There are 14 Genesis facilities still operational. We need them destroyed. But they're too well defended for conventional assault. The infected can coordinate perfectly. They know we're coming before we arrive. But you might be able to infiltrate. Pass as one of them." I understand what she's asking. Become a spy. Use whatever the virus did to me to get close. Sabotage from within. And if I say no, then we keep you here until you change your mind, or until you turn, whichever comes first. Not much of a choice. What about my people? The camp? They're safe. We moved them to a secure location. Your wife Sarah is asking about you. Oh, we told her you died in the explosion. Why? Because if she knew you were alive like this, she'd try to see you. We can't risk exposure. The virus could still be contagious. Rage builds in me. But it's cold rage. Calculated. That's new. That's the virus. I want to see her. Not possible. Then I'm not helping you. The woman sighs. Fine. We'll arrange a video call. Supervised, 5 minutes. But she can't know what you are. You tell her you're in quarantine. Being treated, understand? I nod. Day 124. I saw Sarah today. Video screen, pixelated image. But it was her. She looked thin, tired, but alive. Jake? Oh my God, Jake, they said you were dead. I'm okay. I'm in quarantine. The exposure from Genesis. They're treating it. When can I see you? Really see you? Soon. I promise. We talked for 5 minutes. Mundane things. The camp. The people there. How Earl's leg is healing from some injury I didn't know about. How Claire is walking again. I didn't tell her about the presence in my head, or how I can hear them sometimes. The infected. Their thoughts bleeding into mine, a constant whisper of the collective. I didn't tell her I'm becoming something else. When the call ended, I sat in the cell and cried. First time since the outbreak. Real, human tears. Maybe I'm still human after all. Day 130. They're training me. Not combat training, infiltration. How to think like the infected while staying myself. It's a balance. Let the virus in enough to pass their screening, but not so much I lose control. It's harder than it sounds. The instructor is a man named Phillips, former CIA. He treats me like an asset, not a person. You need to understand their psychology, he says. The collective doesn't think in terms of individuals. It thinks in terms of optimization. Every action serves the whole. If you can demonstrate that mindset, they'll accept you. What if I can't come back? What if I get lost in it? Then we detonate the fail-safe implant we put in your spine while you were unconscious. I reach back, feel the small bump under my skin at the base of my neck. You put a bomb in me. Insurance. If you turn or go rogue, we can't risk you joining the collective. You know too much about our operations. I should be angry, but the virus part of me understands. It's logical, efficient. That scares me more than the bomb. Day 145. First mission, Genesis Facility Number 7, Montana, a smaller than the first one, maybe 30 infected researchers. I'm going in alone, armed with nothing but false credentials and the viral presence in my head. Phillips drives me to the drop point. Remember your cover story? You're Dr. Marcus Webb, transferred from Facility 12. You've been integrated for 6 weeks. They'll test you. Don't fight the connection. What connection? You'll know when you feel it. He's right. I approach the facility and immediately the whispers in my head get louder. The collective reaching out. Testing. Probing. I lower my mental defenses. Let it in. The sensation is overwhelming. Thousands of minds touching mine. Sharing thoughts. Sharing purpose. For a moment I'm lost in it. The peace of surrendering individuality. Then I remember Sarah. The memory anchors me, pulls me back, and I'm at the entrance. A researcher, infected, eyes milky, scans my credentials. Dr. Webb, welcome. Integration status? 97%. Still experiencing residual human emotion, working to optimize. The researcher nods. Acceptable. Report to Lab 3. We're accelerating the timeline. I'm in. The facility is worse than the first Genesis site. They're not just researching here. They're manufacturing. Assembly lines of infected being processed, enhanced, upgraded into something more efficient. I see what they're building and my blood runs cold. Soldiers. They're making infected soldiers. Faster, stronger, coordinated. An army. I find the power core. Start setting charges. But the collective knows. I can feel it becoming aware of me. Suspicious. Dr. Webb, report to integration chamber immediately. Integration chamber. Be where they'll force me deeper into the collective. Burn out the last of my humanity. I run. Alarms sound. The infected don't chase me. They coordinate. Cut off escape routes. Trap me. I'm cornered in the manufacturing wing when Phillips's voice comes through my earpiece. Activate failsafe on my mark. Wait, there's another way. Negative. You're compromised. Activating in 10 seconds. Phillips, I can still... 5 seconds. I'm sorry. I think about Sarah. About how I promised I'd see her again. The bomb in my spine activates. But it doesn't explode. I'm lying on the floor. The infected standing around me. Looking confused. The bomb failed. Or maybe I disabled it subconsciously. The virus in me protecting its host. Either way, I'm alive. The collective surges into my mind. Too strong to resist. I feel myself slipping. I'm becoming one with it. Then, silence. The whispers stop. The infected collapse, all of them. simultaneously. I'm standing in a room full of bodies, and I'm alone. What the hell just happened? Final recovered entry day, 150. I figured it out. The collective wasn't trying to assimilate me. I was assimilating it. The immunity treatment didn't just protect me from the virus. It changed how the virus works in my system. Instead of the virus controlling me, I'm controlling it. Every time the collective reached into my mind, I reached back. Planted thoughts, suggestions, slowly reprogramming the infected. At Facility 7, I sent one command. One simple idea. Rest, and they did. Shut down. Went dormant, all of them. I'm not a hybrid. I'm something else. A counter-virus. A cure that walks. I tested it again. Facility 11. Same result. Approached the infected. Let them connect. Sent the shutdown command. 37 infected dropped like puppets with cut strings. Phillips doesn't know. I haven't told him. If the military finds out what I can do, they'll use me. Turn me into a weapon. Lock me in a lab and study me until there's nothing human left. So I'm going dark. I'm leaving the military facility tonight. Going back to find Sarah. To the camp. To the survivors. If I can figure out how to transfer this ability, how to turn other survivors into carriers like me, we might actually win this. Not by hiding. Not by running. By fighting back from inside the infection itself. This is what I prepared for without knowing it. 30 days of planning for a zombie outbreak. All that stockpiling and fortifying and preparing, none of it mattered except the choice to survive. And I'm not done surviving yet. If you're reading this, if you found these journals, know that the fight isn't over. The collective is still out there, still growing, still building towards something. But so are we. We're adapting too, evolving, becoming something the virus didn't anticipate. I don't know if we'll win, but I know we'll fight. Sarah, I'm coming home. Earl, keep everyone safe until I get there. To whoever comes after, keep the immunity treatment. Keep developing it. Keep fighting. The apocalypse isn't the end. It's just another thing to prepare for. And we're getting better at preparation. Thanks for watching, guys. I will be back with another story.